Broadcasting from the Napa Valley wine country, just outside the mystical Sonoma Mountains. This is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. Thank you for joining us on this St. Patrick's Day. It is March 17th, 2019. And I hope everyone had a great St. Patrick's Day today. Mine has been up and down. I've been kind of had a little touch of the flu or the cooties, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to shake it. Hopefully, I will be shaking it pretty soon. But nevertheless, again, happy St. Patrick's Day, and hope you guys all had a good day today. We have a great show for you tonight, though. We have Chris Medina joining us here in a bit, and we'll get to Chris here in a second. But first, just a little order of business. Follow us on Twitter at Strange Days 2015, trending with the hashtag Beyonders for posts, comments, or questions for the show. And if you want more BTS after the show is over, hang out at the Beyonders Chat Discord channel, where you can find plenty of fringe topics to discuss with a friend, or just to hang out and talk with a buddy about a show topic or subject. Ask for an invite to the Discord channel or go to beyondthestrange.com, and on the main page there is a Discord link that'll get you hooked up to the Beyonders chat room. So get on over there to beyondthestrange.com and look for that link. And make sure you just subscribe to the Beyond the Strange YouTube channel, and remember, set your alerts to receive new notifications of videos and live streams. Remember to please hit that like button, and it'll be all good. Leave a comment, let us know how we're doing, and we really appreciate that. Finally, you can find the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Google+, all under Beyond the Strange, and you can also find the podcasts of the show later on iTunes, Google Play, Spreaker, and Stitcher. Please remember to leave a like again, and follow the show. It all helps. So do that. Leave a comment as well. We'd really appreciate your comments and feedback for the show. All right, let's get to the show. Chris Medina provides spiritual and metaphysical services for those in need of spiritual guidance, or Chris's unique approach is what sets him apart from those looking to cash in on another's misfortune or naivety. He does not believe in providing any type of new age mumbo jumbo or lemon light gimmicks. The truth and complete honesty is why he's earned the excellent reputation that he's had with his clients. Although the truth may hurt or be uncomfortable, at times it is crucial in one's progression, be it spiritually or mentally. Everyone has a purpose in life, and Chris is to help those in need to obtain and reach their soul purpose. To learn more about Chris, please go to his website at chrismedina.guide. Please, everyone, welcome back to the show, Chris Medina. Chris, thank you for joining me tonight.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Man, I am so sorry. I'm struggling tonight. It's been a really horrible last couple of days with this cooties type. I don't know what you call it, man. It's just really been bogging me down. Please forgive me.
No problem. It doesn't help that Mercury's retrograde right now too. So you're feeling it, huh?
I guess I want to say let's just blame Mercury retrograde for everything.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm on board with that for sure.
Right on, man. But yeah, I'm so glad that we've been able to get back together and talk. It's been a while since we talked last, and I want to get into that here in a bit. But how are you doing? First of all, I want to say congratulations on your podcast. It's just really refreshing and to hear the honesty. Like in your bio, I feel that people need that. They really do need to hear even if it doesn't feel good, the truth. So I'm really glad that you
For
put that in
sure.
there.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me back on first and foremost. I mean, it's great to catch up. I can't believe it's almost been what we were talking earlier, like almost 2 years
Yeah.
since I've done the show.
Right.
And, to come full circle and to be back on, I'm always down with whatever it is that you're doing. I'll support you 100%. But yeah, man, I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't been better. Like, I mean, I've been really, really good. I mean, I'm kicking butt with my readings, doing this podcast, kind of kicking down new doors and just, doing me and finally back in LA where I belong. Lived in Oregon. Last time we spoke, I was living in Oregon. So was able to move back to LA, been here for the last couple of years, little going on 2 years now, and just, doing me and just absorbing it all in.
That's great, man. That's awesome. And yeah, I'm sure it's really cool to kind of be back in your old stomping grounds, right?
For sure, 100. I mean, yeah, I feel back at home. The energy is great. I'm ready to do this.
Right on. That's wonderful. So, for a lot of people, since we last talked, I don't remember if we talked a lot about you. I know we talked a lot about what's been going on with you, but let's get another go back a little bit and get a little more history on you and what was it like, growing up, and how did you find out about your abilities and that kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I the first time, I mean, my dad knew it. I guess when I was first born, knew the difference. His mother knew the difference in me. But the very first time that I really tapped into this, psychic ability or medium ability, if you will, was when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember my dad. I mentioned this before on several podcasts that my dad's a biker and he did biker things, and was a little bit of a badass back in the day, and he would smoke dope with his friends. And I remember hanging out in a room with them while they were all getting high and just talking shit and shooting, just telling stories to each other. And I remember my dad asking me to read one of his friends. So I remember reading the guy to a T and was telling him what was going on with him. And I made the guy cry. And I thought I did something wrong. I was like, oh, I thought I was going to get in trouble. And I asked my dad, is he okay? And he was like, yeah. He saw, you just said something that he needed to hear. And then my
Right.
dad would constantly, I remember driving in the car with him and just, asking me, what do you get off this person? Tell me what you think about this person. And just, going down that whole route there. And then coming into the medium side of it, geez, I must have been like 6 or 7. I had just moved in with my mother. She had got a place in Simi Valley, California, and I moved in with her. I was living with my great grandmother prior to that, and was able to move in with her in Simi. Had my own bedroom there, and immediately picked up on the energy in the house. My mom thought it was, maybe you're watching too many scary movies here, but it was completely different. That's where the medium side really kicked in, and I was picking up on the energies in the house. Ghosts were coming to visit, showing themselves to me, speaking to me directly. So yeah, I'd say around between the ages of 4 to 7 is when I started noticing it for myself and getting more in touch with it.
I hear that a lot. I hear, talking with mediums and people who can talk to the dead and all those kind of things, that when they do when they start when they grow when they're growing up and they move into different homes, they pick up on these different energies, feelings right away, that there's something
Mhm.
here, there's something going on. Do you hear that a lot?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Uh-huh. I hear that a lot, where they're growing up and they're feeling that type of energy, and then I always hear the other part of it too, where they're like, they get told to knock it off, or somebody comes in and suppresses that ability within them. So they
Hmm.
don't end up fully developing it the way they should. But yeah, I hear that all the time. I mean, because we're so open as kids. I mean, we're not as jaded as adults are because we're still brand new. We're still fresh in our way of thinking. So I feel like we're more open at that age.
Yeah, I mean, I see, and I've been told that by a person I had on the show. As a matter of fact, her name is Trisha Gelder. She's awesome. She's really cool. I consider her a friend, and she is also a numerologist. And I don't know if you do numerology as
Mhm,
well. I know you do, astrology also, and do you do tarot as well?
mhm. I dabble in tarot. I don't use it during my with my readings. I'll use it more on a personal type of level. But
Okay,
yeah, I am familiar with tarot. I do know a little bit about numerology, but not enough to speak on it. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in it.
okay. And so we talked a bit. Actually, she did my chart on my show, and she said I'm a life path 9. and it was like really strong in the psychic or, if you will, empathic type path or way. I don't know how, I forgot how she put it,
Uh-huh.
but I've always felt that I could always tell if someone's bullshitting me,
Mhm.
or if like I'm speeding down the road and all of a sudden something just tells me slow down. And as soon as I slow down, man, I see a cop pull right out, and I'm like, whoa! And he'll grab the next guy, and I was lucky enough to slow down. And that's so weird, that I've always had that. I've always had that growing up. So I don't know what that is, but I've never had the I see ghosts kind of thing. So that's kind of what happens with me. Do you actually see spirits and ghosts?
Every now and then, I hear them most of the time. My dad is a real full-on medium, so he actually hears and sees them. If they want to show themselves to me, they'll do it. But I mostly hear them. I've seen them a couple of times, and yeah, to be honest, it does scare the shit out of me a little bit.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm glad that I hear it more than I do see it.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I'd hate to like just turn around and someone's got a knife sticking in their head or something like that. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
thanks for stopping by. But you
right,
know,
exactly.
I mean, I would definitely not like that very much at all. But that'd be a trip. So but do you hear them? And by the way, you have an amazing story about Bill Cooper. We'll get into that a little bit later. I know that was
Oh
more
yeah, for sure.
more like a dream or a vision, but hearing them, I mean, hearing people, um how does that happen? How does that work?
God, I've been really speaking on this like on my show, and then when I do readings as well. It happens three different ways for me. Usually, if the spirit wants to make themselves known, or I always feel like, why would they come to me if they don't know who I am? So whenever I give a reading to somebody, like if in the spirits connected to that person and that person wants to come through, I could definitely hear them. Or if they come through but they are not a big fan of psychics or not a big fan of mediums, and they're not sure how that energy works, because again, what how they thought before they died is probably the same way they think in the afterlife, if you will. So it's sometimes they'll just sit here, and I'll know that they're here. I could feel their presence, but they won't say anything. And
Mhm.
if I can't get them either of those ways, I'll go by a picture. I'll ask the person that I'm reading, email me a picture real quick. If we're doing it over the phone, just email me a picture real fast so I can take a look at what's going on with this person. And I immediately tap into the memory of that person while they were living. I see what their life was like, how they
Hmm.
died, where they're at now. And I always tell people it's either, again, a combination of three different things. They're either, still here, like when I say here, I'm not saying in limbo when they're stuck here. They just choose to be here or around family. They still feel that connection or want to be close to them, or they evolve. And what I mean by evolve, I mean, I don't know what the audience's religious beliefs are, but sometimes they come back, they're reincarnated, they take on a different life, or they're just gone completely. They're a light. If again, I don't know what the belief system is. If you want to say heaven, they're just a light up there,
Hmm.
and they're not earthbound, and they don't want to come back. They're just up there. So yeah, that's how that for the most part, that's how I, or the way that it's presented to me.
So they have the option to either stay or go, or even maybe go and come back.
Yeah, sometimes like if it's a quick death, the person doesn't want to leave. They miss being here. They're, again, when I say earthbound, it sounds so creepy to say that, and then you think that they're in limbo here, but they don't want to leave. They're connected to the family. They want to check in. They want to be around the family.
Hmm.
Or if they're kind of, again, I don't know if it's up there, and then when I do a reading, they can feel the energy there, and they want to make their presence known there. They have that option to do it, unless they come back and the soul's completely into another person and feel them at all. I can just tap into the memory again of that picture of them. I know that sounds weird.
No, no, not at all. Are you kidding me on this story, on this show? Um, do you have like a story, maybe even on your podcast or something, that something like this might have happened, where I mean, I'm sure you do, but um, for example,
Yeah, like as far as like a spirit coming in and visiting.
right, or not wanting
Yeah,
to leave because that they want to hang out and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually, I spoke on this on one of my episodes. It was about a couple months back now. I went to go read a girl that's in the industry. She had me come in, and her father had just passed away, and she was at, she wanted to connect with them. And I never make the client the promise that I'm going to connect. I am definitely not one of those mediums that's going to fluff the reading up or pretend to make contact with somebody if they're not coming through. And I always tell people too, you got to look at it this way: if that person's connected to you, why would they come and talk to me out of the blue? So, if they come, if they're gonna step in, I'm more than welcome to hear what they have to say here. But if they're not gonna come in, I am not gonna pretend that they're gonna be here. So this woman's father actually did come through. Um,
Mhm.
I felt the death. I felt what he was going through, the type of illness that he had prior to his passing. I felt it all through my body. I actually got sick. I got up, and I know it's going to sound weird. I thought I was going to throw up right there in her living room because the energy was so strong, and I could feel. He had come in, and she was asking, like, what's wrong or whatever, and what, why are you still here? And he was basically told me to tell her, because you guys won't stop bitching. You guys are all fighting over everything here, and I can't. I know it sounds weird. He was like, and I can't rest here. It's always me, 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 me. And then the it got really intense. The client was crying, and then the father that was speaking to me had actually got emotional with the reading too, and I actually felt that I know it's going to sound weird, but I started crying, and I know it sounds a little weird to say that, but I could feel the emotion of the person coming through and the energy and what they wanted to see happen in order for them to leave. And it wasn't. I was making the I was trying to make this as clear as possible to the client. I was saying, your father's not in limbo. Do not think that he is stuck here. He can go at any time that he wants to go. He just wants to make sure all the affairs are handled here and everybody is at peace so he can move on in peace without having to worry about what's going on here. So yeah, I feel that type of energy there. I will definitely tell the client, even if it hurts their feelings, that you got to stop doing this. You got to stop taking advantage. Or the father was always talking. The father, when he came through, he was saying, it's always me, me, me about them. So yeah, I hope that's a good story. But yeah, that's how
Oh yeah,
intense
of
it can get
course.
sometimes. And then yeah, you mentioned William Cooper. I've talked about this. We get into this later here, but they will come back insistent like that. I've had another client reach out to me. This is actually in person. She was wanting to know more about the family background and the issues that were surrounding the father's life, and some unfinished business between the mother and the father. And when the father came through, he started yelling at me. He was saying that he basically said this, and I'm not trying to be funny or trying to be mean here or be racist or homophobic, but he was like, typically I would never talk to a faggot like you. He's all, but she's asking and she keeps bugging. And I just tell her that I've told her this before: leave well enough alone, leave it alone, move on from it.
My
So
goodness.
just as crazy as they were in yeah, just as crazy as they were in their lifetime, they will come back that way.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. That if there were an asshole in this life on this plane, that they would actually continue to be that way in the next life, and
Yeah, this
that's
person had
disappointing.
Yeah, that person had no plans to come back. That person was completely fine being dead, didn't wanna be bothered with it. Actually, he was telling me that you're like, I was like the 5th psychic medium that this person's gone through here. Leave it alone. That's what the energy was telling me. That's what the spirit was saying it, if you will. Just kind of basically, stop bugging. Just let me rest in peace. You're not gonna find out anything different here.
Now, are you able to communicate back and say, "Excuse me, sir, I find that offensive, and I'd really appreciate if you didn't talk to me that way."
If actually, when it comes to a reading like that, I want to get everything out, and I want to make it as authentic as possible to the person there, so I don't really go back and forth with the ghost, because I'm very careful in the way that I come across when I'm giving a reading here. But a quick example here: I was watching Unsolved Mysteries. That's how I unwind before I go to bed. I know it sounds so morbid, but I watch Unsolved Mysteries, or I'll watch
It's a great
Forensic
show.
Files to kind of unwind and relax. Yeah, and to get back in the and just kind of feel myself out. And I
Mhm.
remember turning the TV off and getting ready to go to bed here, and there was a spirit that came through, and he'd asked me. He said, he just like this. He said, "I'm sorry to bother you, but my family has been looking for me. I've been missing in Peru for some time. I was wondering if you could help me." And that's where I step in and I'm like, no, I can't help you and you need to leave. I
Mm,
said, I don't mean to be rude, but I can't have you just come in here and talk to me out of nowhere. So
right.
I definitely will set those boundaries. And again, I know it sounds creepy to say that, but I mean, I've been doing this for so long. I've gotten used to the energy and speaking to them. They don't really scare me so much as they do, um, where they can be just a little bit intrusive.
Right. Yeah, I can understand. Probably annoying. I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's okay. I think that's healthy that you've created boundaries, because I would probably go mad. I mean, I would just go and, crazy that people are trying, well, not people, but these spirits that have passed on are trying to communicate with me so they can talk to their families or their loved ones or whatever. And I would just be like, trying to, it's interesting. I don't know how much TV you watch, but I just started watching a show called Legion, and I don't know if you've ever seen it
Oh,
before.
okay.
And there's a character on there, the main character, as a matter of fact, where actually, I take it back. It's more telepathic, but I'm thinking that this might be kind of the same, where he just can't stop hearing everyone's voice, in his head. I guess all, if he's in a crowd of people or a building full of people, there's all these, thoughts that people are just, it's like they're talking to him. He can hear them audibly, but it's telepathic. And so, excuse me, I got
Oh
the
yeah.
sniffles. But and it drives him crazy. He puts his hands on his head like he's covering his ears and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's definitely something that I would not want to live with. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so imagine this, being a psychic that's able to tap into the minds of others, and then also being a medium
There you
where you can
go.
definitely
Hmm.
feel on the people that passed on the other side here. So it definitely, I mean, I get made fun of all the time from my friends. Like a good friend of mine, Nikki, every time I'm with her, we're out in public, she'll be like, "Stop reading people." And I've gotten so used to it, I don't even realize that I'm doing it. I just
Mm.
can't help it. It's like telling me not to breathe. If I go out in public and I don't read somebody, it again, it's just like it just comes like, you know, like second nature to me. I don't know anything else but that.
Well, that's just the nature of you, and it is what it is. But to me, it sounds like you make the best of it. So I think that's cool and that's
Yeah.
awesome. Where does it really, well, like where would you say it starts to become an issue with you, besides just trying to wind down? And like, do you hear things that you don't want to hear? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, where it becomes an issue is with my personal life, like
Okay.
dating or getting involved with like friends and stuff. It
Mm.
really takes a toll on me because again, if it's dating, again, as much as I don't want to, I just can't help it. I can't help but tap in, feel the emotion, or kind of go into the future there and see what's going on with it. So again, even though I've learned to deal with it in a way where like you make the best of it, Chris. You go in there, you get involved in this relationship, you will learn the lesson behind that person and what that person has to teach you and what you have to teach that person, and enjoy it for the moment, enjoy it for the experience. So I've gotten a little bit better when it comes to that, but like with friends, like being able to, like, I mean, how I mean we all have friends that we wish we can tell shut up,
Hmm.
like they
Yeah.
keep going on and on about like things like that. That's an issue with me too, because if I'm tapping in psychically and they're asking me for a psychic advice or they're asking me what I see here and then they don't follow my advice, I mean, I know that I can't make people do what to do, make them do what I say.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it's like you're asking me the same thing over and over again, and it becomes tiring. And then at the end of the day, for me, I end up getting resentful towards that person because I'm like, you're not getting it here, and I mean, I know it sounds weird or maybe just a little bit shitty here, but then I start to weed them out. I'm like, there's nothing more unless we can just be friends and not do the psychic thing here where you don't ask me advice. I don't know how I can further this relationship with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Absolutely. And and
Yeah.
you're picking up on it, man. So it's not like they can't hide anything from you. That's
Yeah.
hey, it is what it is. That's a generic saying, but it's true, right?
Right, it is, yeah. I wish it would be well, I don't wish. People always ask, "Can you use it for, like, lottery numbers? Can you use it for, for predicting, things about, winning, like, jackpots and stuff like that?" I wish I could say yes, but for whatever reason, I know this sounds like a cop out or every psychic has this excuse here, but when it comes to self-gain, I can't give readings to myself. They will definitely let me know, like, if something good's coming in, like a
Mhm.
great opportunity to look forward to, I can pick up on that, or if I need to avoid somebody or a type of energy, if it's something dangerous to me or something that's going to wipe me out, they will definitely give me way more insight than they do on things that are better opportunities for me.
Yeah, I've already stopped asking that question when I speak to mediums and psychics about the lottery question because um, I already know the answer. And
Yeah,
I understand where you're coming from. It's self personal gain, and um, but if it's danger, like you just said, then yeah, definitely, that's something that will benefit you or anyone else. And again, and I want to go back because I want to go back to our first show because a lot of people don't realize this, but after the show, you and I, we had a talk, and you actually gave me a reading off the air, and I'm going to share this
right.
with the audience right now. I'm diabetic, and I didn't know that at the time. I knew I had some health issues at the time that you and I were talking, but I didn't know how bad they were. And you told me, and we, we had just barely started talking at that time, and you told me, you're like, dude, you really need to get your health in check because something's coming up. And I mean, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but something's coming up to where
Right.
you're really going to have to get yourself in health. And at the time, again, I didn't know about my diabetes. Well, that summer, I started losing a lot of weight. I started having a lot of symptoms like using the restroom at night constantly. I had a lot of dry mouth. I was just, I almost thought I had cancer. I thought something like that bad was happening to me. And I think I even mentioned that to you. I said, well, am I going to get cancer or something? And you're kind of like, no, no, not really cancer, but something, something not good. You really need to be careful. And finally,
Mhm.
my wife and I talked, and she's like, honey, you remember Chris told you that? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I remember I was thinking about that. And so I'm like, yeah, I better get to the doctor. Sure enough, get to the doctor. Doctor comes back. He's like, man, your A1C is way high. You have, you're type 2 diabetic. There's no doubt about it. You need to get yourself in check. Plain and simple.
Oh,
And, I I actually want to thank you for telling me ahead of time because if I didn't have that, to where someone told me ahead of time, if you start seeing these symptoms, you better get looked at. The doctor told me I was a walking heart attack. So thank you again, man. I just want to mention that on the air and let everyone know how appreciative I am to you.
oh, thank you, man. That means a lot to me.
You saved, I feel like you saved my life. So, hey, the appreciation is definitely there. And again, I just really, really appreciate that. And,
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sure you get that a lot, from people that you talk with. And, I hope so that they're appreciative.
Yeah, actually, a really good friend of mine that's in the industry. She reached out for a reading about a year ago, and same thing, but this was a little bit more. It's different than yours, but just almost as severe there. And yeah, she went to the hospital. I was telling her like, you got some major health issues when it comes to I don't want to give too much away when it comes to her health, but there was something that was inside of her that she needed to have removed that she didn't know, and she went to the doctors and like they told her, oh wow, yeah, it's a good thing that you came in here, because this is what's going on here. And she thanked me for it. And she was like, if you would have saw me die, if you would have saw death, would you have told me? And
Mm,
see that's the thing when it comes to talking to people about their health and their life or whatever. You never ever want to put fear into something like that. So I always preface it with like, go get checked, or you need to go do this as soon as possible here because of X, Y, and Z. Because the minute that somebody puts that out there, I don't know about you, but I'm a huge hypochondriac. If somebody told me that there was something wrong with my health that they saw in me, I'd be at the emergency room right then and there. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh
that.
yeah.
That's how shook I get.
Yeah. I mean, I used to be like that, but I got to the point where I'm just kind of like, you know, I'm gonna tell people. Again, I'm just gonna say it over the air. My health was so, I didn't know what was happening with me, and I was really, I think I was depressed. As a matter of fact, you might have even saw that, but at the time,
Yeah.
and almost felt like I was giving up, and I don't know exactly why, but um when I thought about my wife and my kids and my family, my loved ones, I picked myself up and I said, look, I can't do this. I have to go get looked at, even if it is cancer. Um, I need to go. I need to go and get checked out. And but normally you can ask Deb, man. She'll tell you right off the top how much of a hypochondriac. It's like, I'll have, I'll start, having a pain, and a little, it's like a little pain somewhere, and I'll think, oh my god, I'm having a, something, I got to get to the hospital, and
Yeah.
it's nothing, like, anywhere near something I need to go to the doctors or ER. But I used to be like that, so dude, I totally understand. I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I never want to put the fear in somebody. I just want to get their attention and let them know that this is something they should address as soon as possible here. But again, never put the fear of God into them, because again, I don't want to be responsible for somebody, either getting in a car accident on the way over there or doing something drastic to themselves out of sheer fear or fright.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. Let me ask you this: when you get like that, I mean, you have a sense that something bad may be happening to you. How do you handle that?
When it comes to me personally.
Hmm.
Yeah, I go and handle like I always say this to myself. Like before I go to bed at night, I always check in. I always go within, and I know a lot of people are gonna find this a little bit weird here, but I always give myself a body scan. I always check in with my body to see if I'm hurting anywhere, or if I need to jump onto something here. And that's how I operate. Again, it's different for me to say how I do it versus how everybody else does it. But if they give me a hit off of it, like they were telling me the other day, go to the dentist. You gotta go get your teeth checked. And I was like, yeah, 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 I hate the dentist. So, I've been putting it off. And I go and brush my teeth, and I chip the back of my tooth in the back. And I was like, all right, I'm done. Not messing around anymore. I'll go do it. So again, it just as quick as they give it to me here and tell me that I need to go do it. If I do not get on it, they will send a warning shot, just something like that, to make me go forward with it here. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, knock on wood, I'm in pretty good health here. I could afford to lose a couple more pounds, but I'm doing the best I can. I'm on a pretty good diet. I work out regularly. Take good care of myself.
That's good. That's really good. I know I fared to lose a probably about another 40 pounds. But when I did drop the weight last year, it wasn't because I wanted to. It was the diabetes. So luckily, or it's good now that it's actually because I'm actually trying.
Yeah, yeah. Good for you, man. Good that you got it in check and that you're taking it seriously and you're jumping, you're trying to be as proactive as you can with it. Where a lot of people, they get scared, they don't want to do anything with it. But yeah, if I see that in a person, when it comes to their health, I've even like predicted like issues like, watch out for accidents and things like that, or make sure that you watch your feet. I mean, that
Hmm.
whenever I do a reading, at the very end of that reading, I'll give their body a scan with what I'm picking up, or telling me where I need to have them pay attention to. And I've gotten people to go reduce their stress a little bit more, because I was telling them, you're so wound up, you've got so much of this stress going on here, you're grinding your teeth at night, you're the above the shoulders is filled with tension here, you got to do stuff to relax, because if not, you could possibly have a stroke, or you
Hmm.
could have X, Y, and Z happen here. So I really want to not scare them, but really have them pay attention to their health there, especially if you have to understand something. If a psychic that's never ever met you only sees you via a picture or talking to you over the phone, picks up on these things that you are already feeling there, like that adds a little bit more to the reading, and the person really responds better to that because they're like, how would you know about that?
Mm.
We're not doing this in person. So yeah, I mean, like I like to give myself just a little bit of credit on that part there, to be able to pick up and tap into something that's already going on there, that they know about, but they may not be speaking on or wanting to deal with out of being afraid or thinking, oh, it's going to pass.
Yeah, it's very important that they know that, and what you're doing is an amazing service, and I for one am very glad that we talked that night, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, anyone out there listening right now, please, if you have anything that you feel you need to talk to Chris about, go to chrismedina.guide, and I'm sure that they can get in touch with you through there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, to book a reading. Yeah, definitely go to chrismedina.guide to set up a reading there. And again, I mean, I like to, when it comes to my readings, just really quick to put it out there. A lot of times what psychics do is they have like a timer set. It's a half an hour reading and that's as far as it goes here. I really like time with my clients. I really like to go above and beyond because again, if I'm paying $150 for a half an hour reading, that's a lot of money. And I'm not comfortable shutting people off right at 30 minutes. So the reading usually goes over to like 40 to 45 minutes because I'm just not comfortable, discussing something and saying, "Oh well, the time's up. Time for you to go here." I really want the client to leave with a sense of well-being, or just a little bit, having their stress knocked out a little bit here, or have more clarity or insight as to what they should be doing with their lives, rather than just saying, "Okay, here's what's going on with you, and then you go deal with it here." I really, really like to take my time with people. Again, this is a life that you're messing with here.
Hmm.
This is somebody's life and or health that you're speaking on here. You can't put a timer on that or a price.
And that's amazing because there are a lot of people out there who, you know, claim that they're doing you a service, but yet, it's like, oh, well, it's, half an hour, time's up, you know, so sorry, that got to go. And I don't
Yeah.
get that from you at all. And I really think that that's really amazing and great that you do that for people. Um, Let me ask you
Thank you.
something really, Chris, on your something real quick, Chris, on your
Mhm.
podcast. How do you do readings on the air or anything like that for people?
Yeah, like right now, I'm in the process of getting people together to do readings that I've never met before. But any guests that I have on there, I'll give them an impromptu reading there. They're people that I've usually read before or that I'm friends with that I
Hmm.
have come on, whatever, and speak about their experience. And then I'll give them a quick reading on air right then and there. But what I want to do with the show now, I'm only 30 episodes in. I know it seems like a lot, but I mean, I'm barely finding my footing. I've never done this before. But yeah, the goal is to get people that write in to get readings to them, without me knowing them, and doing it live on air
Oh,
in
that's
front of
awesome.
people.
Yeah.
Again, that yeah. So yeah, that is the goal.
Yeah, no, that's great. And again, I just got turned onto your podcast recently, so I know, and we talked about this before the show too. I think this is going to be really cool for a lot of people right now. We're talking about, let's just blame everything on Mercury retrograde, and
Right? I mean, it's easiest thing to do.
in the last podcast, I mean, I was just hearing f bombs all over the place, and it's like Mercury retrograde.
Oh,
Let me explain something. So, I mean, could you put that in a nutshell about Mercury retrograde? What does it mean for one?
Mercury yeah, Mercury retrograde happens 3 to 4 times a year. It's always in a different sign. This time around, Mercury's retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So whenever Mercury is retrograde, it's always a slowdown in communication. It's always, a breaktronics, computers start acting up, your car will start acting up. There will be a breakdown with communication between you and somebody else. It's usually not a good idea to sign a contract or do something while Mercury's retrograde, because when it goes direct, you can always count on something being missed during that signature or that signing. But I always say you can't stop living your life for 3 weeks. You got to keep pushing on. You got to keep doing it. So what I like to do, and the way that I educate people with it, is I look for the positive sides to it. Anytime Mercury's retrograde, it is much needed. The way that the world that we live in now is so fast paced. It's so all over the place. There's so many different things going on here. Mercury retrograde really allows us the opportunity to slow the f down, to take time to reflect, to reassess, to go back and make sure all I's are dotted, all T's are crossed, and and check in with ourselves. So this time around, like I mentioned a second ago, it is in the sign of Pisces. So if you know anything about Pisces, it's a very intuitive sign. It's very creative. It's very dreamy. It's all about bringing your vision into reality. It's also, I mean, the little negative parts of it are, being super emotional, dramatic. Kind of, I always say that Pisces is a sign of the zodiac where I say, get off the cross, we need the wood. It's the
Wow,
martyr, if
yeah.
you will. So so when it comes to that part of it, just know that you are going to be a little bit touchy feely. You are going to be emotional here. Do not hold that in. If you're feeling like you need to cry, or you're feeling depressed, check in with yourself and find out why you're feeling this way here. And I always tell people, I never suppress my emotions. If I gotta cry, I will get in the car, put on every sad song you could think about, and just cry it all out and mourn everything that I need to mourn. So that way I get it out and I feel better. If I'm having a temper tantrum or I'm in a bad mood, I've said this before to people too, and people think I'm crazy for doing this, but I will get a pillow and I will scream into it. Or I have this shirt that I put on, it's all ripped at the bottom, and I will put that on and I will rip the bottom, but just to let out some aggression. Short of
Hmm.
beating the hell out of somebody, or getting into an argument with somebody, I'd rather just I'd
Unlucky
rather just
them.
handle it that way. So yeah, what?
I said, unlucky them.
Yeah. So I just rather take it out on this shirt that I put on every time I'm having a meltdown. But yeah, I never deny myself the opportunity to let go here. I always do it in private. I always, I get in touch with myself, because a lot of times what people do is they suppress all that emotion and they end up tripping over it, or it always comes back to bite them in the ass. So when Mercury's retrograde, again, go back, just reassess, reflect, check in with yourself. Everybody's going to be, I mean, I'm going to be funny here. Everybody's slow and stupid during this time here. Give yourself the opportunity to catch up and just check in with yourself and
Mhm.
slow down a little bit. There's
Yes.
nothing negative with it. I mean, I kind of look forward to them.
Sounds like it's a good time to just chill and reflect and like you said, make sure everything's in check. All your ducks are in line, in order, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
totally, I totally get it. Um, I don't know if you're okay with it, but I do wanted to ask you, is there any way you can touch up on some of the signs of the of the zodiac, like I don't know. I really don't know where I'm going with it. Actually, I do, but I don't know if I want to do it on air because my wife, she heard my sign, Leo. We were talking about that, and everything, and of course, everything you
Yeah.
said about it was spot on. And she's in the chat room right now, but she was asking me about, well, so I'm your opposing sign. And I'm like, no, honey,
Yeah.
it's not like that. So maybe if she heard it from you, it's okay, and actually, it's a
Yeah, for
good thing.
sure. It actually is a good thing. You will find, like, again, I'm a Taurus, so the opposite sign of Taurus is Scorpio, and you will find 9 out of 10 times Taurus and Scorpios go together. They balance each other out. What the Scorpio lacks, as far as like grounding and being able to be a little bit more practical and more in touch with their feelings and just a little bit more stable and grounded, Taurus can provide. Where Taurus can get set in their ways and get too rigid or too comfortable or set in the routine, Scorpio come in and kind of go a little bit deeper, have them dig a little bit deeper when it comes to their way of thinking, bring out a little bit more emotion, so they're not so hardcore here. With Leo and Aquarius, Leo is a sign of pride, especially for a man. If you are a male Leo, you are definitely somebody that doesn't take bullshit and never wants to come across stupid to anybody else here. You take pride in who you are as a person, and
Mhm.
nobody steps on your tail. It's also great for it also makes, I mean, I get along with Leo women and men, because your guys' personalities are so, you guys are so funny. You guys love to talk shit. You guys love to, put on get a good, you guys are good with your comedy. Aquarius is the opposing sign of Leo, and Aquarius people, not, I don't want to piss Deb off,
No
but
worries,
Aquarius
she's
people can
fine.
be, yeah, she's gonna be like, "Shut up, Chris." But no, Aquarius are very much forward thinkers. They are all about humanity. They're all about the world. They are the sign of I don't, the sign of Uranus. So Uranus is a very unpredictable. It's a planet of unpredictability. They're very, again, forward thinkers, very think outside the box. They do not like to follow any type of structure. They march to the beat of their own drum. So where Leo can be a little bit more like, wanting to be not so much reserved as they are not wanting to come across in a bad light to people. Aquarius can come in and say, you know what, why don't we think about switching things up here, and
Mm,
maybe think outside the box when it comes to it. Leo's turn on Aquarius would be, why don't we why don't we just think a little bit more about how we are presenting ourselves as well too. So to find that balance between the two of them, where Aquarius is telling Leo, okay, here's all these different ideas we can think about. Leo can come in and say, okay, well, if we're going to do this, let's make sure that we're not looking a little too far out there when we're presenting ourselves this way. So to me, it's a good balance of energy. It's the opposing sign. It just balance off. It's at the opposite end of the spectrum. So to be able to balance that, it's kind of like a seesaw there, where it's up and down. You can kind of level each other out.
yeah, and it's funny because and I was mentioning this uh before we started the show, is that my current wife is an Aquarius, and my first wife, which we don't talk about very much, she was a Leo, and we got two Leos, man. It's just for some reason, just whatever. And I never put the two together.
That is Yeah, that's not that, I mean, to have 2 Leos, I mean, in the same house there, I mean, how would that balance out the power? Because both wanna be right, both want their own way, both wanna be seen in the spotlight, or or wanna be heard here, and definitely pride and ego can come into play. But at the same time, if you have 2 Leos there, the positives of it is a great power couple. It's 2 people that really wanna achieve and succeed here if the energy is right here. But as I mentioned earlier, before we got the show started, I love to look at the sun signs. Again,
Hmm.
just like you and your wife, she's an Aquarius, you're a Leo, but I
Hmm.
also like to look at the moon sign, which rules the emotions there. And everybody has a moon sign. So my moon is in Pisces.
Mm,
So
okay.
for like I said earlier, Pisces moon is, a lot of times people would say, oh, that's what makes Chris psychic, because he's got a Pisces moon. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So it accumulates all the energy of all the other signs there, and it can be an energy sponge. It could take on the feelings, the energy of other people. It's also, again, a very creative, very intuitive type of sign here. But again, it's also the sign where I say, get off the cross, we need the wood, because I can be a bit of a crybaby. I can get very emotional and want to just shut down. So that's a negative. But I've been doing this for so long, and I'm comfortable with who I am, that whenever I have those bad days, like I said, I always figure out what the energy is that I'm feeling. Am I taking on my own energy? Am I really feeling this way because this is how I'm feeling? Or is this because I've had a reading with somebody and I'm still holding on to their energy? So again, find out what the moon sign is there. I mean, 9 out of 10 times here, you know a lot more about that person when you figure out their moon sign, because again, the moon rules their emotions and how they process and think of things.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I mean, where there's a light side, there's definitely a darker side, but not necessarily a darker side because it's the moon. But anyways, I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know enough to know what I'm talking about, so I'm not gonna pretend. I appreciate you explaining everything though, Chris. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Uh-huh.
And I wanted to mention too that we were talking about Trisha earlier, and Trisha just joined our chat. So I just want to say welcome, Trisha. Thanks for joining us, and joining us with Chris Medina tonight. Um, I want to mention
Hey, Trish.
also. Oh yeah, there she is. I do want to mention that right after the break. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and open the lines. If you have a question regarding what Chris does and that sort of thing, uh, then please call in, and I'll put the number out there, and we'll get that rolling. And there's a lot of people in the chat. I'm pretty sure they're anxious to be able to talk to you, Chris. So if we can do that, I think that'll be great. Um,
Let's do it.
yeah. So before we get to the break, I do want to I wanted to ask you about the story about Bill Cooper, so we can get into that a little bit, and maybe it could roll over into the break if we have to. But no, actually, I take that back. I want to talk about these orbs. How about that? Let's talk a little bit about
Oh,
that
yeah.
because it was this is also the reason why we're doing the show tonight because a lot of strange shit has been happening. A lot of crazy stuff has been happening
Mhm.
in the paranormal community, and that could be an understatement considering that weird shit happens all the time in the paranormal community. But it's really happened. Some really weird crap has been happening lately, and I think you picked up on it. Not not by you looking for it. It's just happened to come across you, and you came to me and you're asking me about orbs and how it's maybe related to extraterrestrials. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100. Again, look at your show Beyond the Strange. You were the first person that I thought of. I was like, I gotta hit Dave up to find out what this was here because again, it is completely. I mean, definitely a believer in extraterrestrial, alien, things like that here, but it's not really my realm. And I knew that I would, find more answers if I went to you because you're used to dealing with this stuff a little bit more than I am, or a little, you're more diverse in the subject than I am. So, I mean, do you want me to get into it and tell you what I saw?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So Jay is my business partner, my best friend, and my manager. We headed out to Vegas to go visit a good friend of mine, Michelle Prentice. She's an astrologer to get away from LA to kind of go on a little bit of a retreat there and just kind of, clear our minds and stuff. So we ended up everything that could possibly happen on this trip happened on the way up there. We went from rainy days in Los Angeles to these heavy winds, sandstorms, and then snow all the way up there. I was like, oh my God, like, do we have to turn around and go back? That's like how crazy everything was going. We finally showed up to Michelle's house. We got in there. I was feeling the energy of her place. Michelle's got really, really good energy, but her house would had a lot of energy to it as well too. And I knew I was like, okay, when it comes time to go to bed at night, I'm probably going to pick up on what's going on here. Never in my wildest dreams that I think that it was going to be as intense as it was. So we we sat around, had a couple of drinks. Michelle had made some food. She showed us to our bedrooms. Jay and I went to go pass out because we had that long trip over there.
Sure.
I kept hearing all kinds of weird things from spirits, paranormal to I'm going to get to the alien thing right now. When I went to go to sleep and I was meditating and I was trying to decompress and feel the energy of the house, the blinds that were resting on the windowsill fell off and whacked against the side of the wall. The window was not open. There was no heater on or air conditioner on that would have made the blinds move that hard. Dealt with that. Started to doze off again. Fall asleep. I heard tapping on the wall, like somebody had fingernails and was like tapping against the wall. And I had said, "Okay, you need to let me sleep. I acknowledge that you're here. I need to go to sleep." 10 minutes later, same thing, but this time it was on the headboard right above my head. Told it to go away, try to fall asleep again. I woke up because I felt something behind me, but again, it felt different. It was not a spirit, it was not a ghost, it wasn't a person in the room. It felt like extraterrestrial, like when Bill Cooper and that alien came to visit me.
Mm.
So I looked up, and there was this green glow coming from the attic. It was so bright inside the attic that it made an outline around the attic door on the ceiling there, and then through the vent of the where the air conditioning vent was at, right
Mm-hmm.
next to it. It was
Right.
this big green glow in there, and I was thinking maybe it's the reflection from the smoke alarm because the smoke alarm had a green light on it, and I was like, no, there's no way, it's too bright. It's coming from up there. I ignored it as much as I could and tried to fall back to sleep. Needless to say, I didn't sleep that entire night that I was there. Went about our business, had our retreat the next day, ended up not sleeping the night afterward, and then was like, I need to go home early the next day. Jay and I drove back to LA, came home. I slept the entire night that night. The night after we had gotten home, I had woken up because I felt again something in the room, some
Mm-hmm.
weird energy. And again, it felt alien. So I woke up and I turned over, and I shit you not, there was this big red orb. It must have been the size of a basketball or soccer ball. And it was red and it was right there by the window and it was pulsating, and these little tiny orbs like the size of M&Ms were coming out of that bigger orb, and it was spreading out towards the wall on the left hand side of it, and then to the right hand side of the wall and coming toward me. And my guides had kicked in and reminded me of the entity or the alien that I saw in my apartment when Bill Cooper used to come to visit. And I said, "Oh, is there one here?" And I was like, "Where are you?" And because I remember it being so dark that it blended into the shadow. So I was looking for anything that popped to me, and I saw it again. It was another one of those, I don't know if it's a shadow figure, an extraterrestrial, an alien, but again, it was of high intelligence. It was not there to harm me. It was standing there, and I can see you. And I said it in my head, and that we'll just call it an alien, if you will, had said back to me, turn around.
Hmm.
So I don't know why I did it, but I turned around and I looked the other way, and my guide said, "No, no, he didn't. It doesn't want you to turn around. It wanted to see if you could hear what it was saying." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I turned around, and that thing was just standing there. It wasn't shady. Didn't look like it was going to get me. I kept rubbing my eyes because again, I thought I was in a dream. I thought I was just seeing things again. That red orb did not leave. I sat up like if I was going to get out of the bed, and when I did that, the you can tell the alien or the being was a little bit nervous, thinking I was going to go up towards it or something.
Hmm.
And those little red orbs, the ones that were the size of M&Ms, started to go back into the bigger orb, and it started to retreat from the walls and coming towards me and go back into the orb. And it started to move. The once all the smaller orbs got into the bigger one, it started backing out towards the window, and it went out the window. And I looked down. I looked down real fast, looked back up because I knew if I did that, that thing was going to go.
Right.
And when I did that, that thing was gone. Yeah, that
Wow.
is that's
Wow.
the kind of stuff that I deal with here. And I was like, I knew it wasn't a spiritual type of energy. I knew it wasn't like a ghost. I know it wasn't the paranormal, if you will. So that's why I reached out to you. I was like, if anybody's going to know what this is or can guide me in the right direction when it comes to this here, or have a familiar story to talk about, it would be Dave. So that's when I reached out to you. And here we are today.
Right on. And actually, yeah, I did do a little research on that, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit on the show. So different color orbs do have different meanings.
Hmm.
One of the places that I research is it's a website called Paranormal Love Talk Now. It's a website. I'll put the links up on the website or on Facebook. But
Okay.
there are different meanings of colors, and believe it or not, you can even get a black orb, and I've never even heard of that. And so when I researched this, I'm like, wow, this is really intense. So the red orb is said to be or believed that it has anger or passion behind it. So whatever this was, it could have been an uh, had a lot of anger or really passionate about something. Did you pick up on that at all?
Yeah, I picked up on for whatever reason, whatever those little red ones were that were coming out of it, I wasn't scared. It didn't feel angry. I think
Hmm.
I might have stumbled across the same website that you got this information from. It did not feel angry. It felt like it was scanning them. I'm very familiar with orbs, so anytime my guides are giving me confirmation, and I ask my guides, show me my confirmation. I've never said this out loud before. I don't think I have, but
Hmm.
they will give me an orb inside my head, and it's always an indigo color. It's always that bluish purple type color. So
Okay.
I know that's my confirmation. I'm used to seeing those around on a daily basis, but this was completely different than what I saw that night. This thing was pulsating, and it seemed to be, for lack of a better word, and I always associate intelligence with extraterrestrial. It was highly intelligent.
Hmm.
It was something that was just I cannot put it into words other than saying intelligent. It was just very smart. It was not of here. The night that I actually got back from Vegas, where I slept through the whole night, and then the next day was the orb thing. I dreamt of a UFO coming in,
Hmm.
and it was coming into Earth, and I saw it coming into the atmosphere, and I was like, oh wow, they're coming in here. And then for those of you that are into astrology, in that same dream, I saw the astrological glyph for Uranus, and it was glowing red in the dream. And I was like, is that the glyph? And it came right in front of my face in the dream, and then it took off to go meet that UFO. And then the day after is when that red orb came into play. The next day, where I was visited again, this was not a dream. I was wide awake. I was rubbing my eyes. I kept opening my eyes wider to make sure that this is exactly what I was looking at. No candles were on, no lights were on. I was seeing exactly what I was seeing here. And again, to describe it, what to say the only way to describe it again is to say that it was intelligent, and that
Hmm.
being there, whatever the tall being is, the alien, if you will, here. a lot of people, they'll make comments about saying that, you're lucky it didn't take you. A lot of times that they're shady or they're ominous or they're here to hurt you. They're completely fascinated with, I'm not just saying this. They're completely fascinated with the fact that I can hear what they're saying inside my head, and I can talk back to them. That's what I was picking up on, was when he said turn around, he was making sure that I could hear it. And when I turned around, that's when my guide said, no, he just wants to make sure that it just wants to make sure that you can hear
You're
it.
communicating, right?
And it didn't move. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times, if you do hear a lot of stories, especially with abductions, and they make it to the ship and they remember, they do say that with these aliens, I think especially with Greys, that they don't move their mouths when they talk. If they hear them talk, if they hear them speak, it is telepathic. So that's
Yeah.
that's very interesting, and it was probably very aware that you were able to pick up on that, and that you were speaking telepathically, and you have that ability or capability. So that's very fascinating. We could definitely analyze that some more. If anyone in the chat wants to call in and comment on that, if you have information about that, that'd be wonderful. A lot of Beyonders out there have a lot of experience. So there are a lot of experiencers out there I talk to constantly in Messenger, or even sometimes through phone. We talk a lot. So there's a lot of Beyonders out there that definitely have a lot of information on things like this. So we might get lucky and we might get some more information about that, Chris. Why don't we go ahead and take a quick break? And when we come back, we'll open up the phone lines, and we'll talk some more and maybe get into some more Bill Cooper. How's that?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, this is Beyond Strange. I am your host, Dave Cruz, and we will be back right after this. Don't go away. We are speaking with Chris Medina, and we'll be right back. All right, Chris, let's go ahead and take a quick 5.
Hey, this is Deb, and you're listening to Dave Cruz on Beyond the Strange Radio.
I warn you, this could scare you, as the sound bothers me to listen to. It has always haunted me. What you're about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
I've seen the Martians feed.
What in heaven's name is it?
I don't know. Beyond the Strange.
Have you ever looked skyward and pondered UFOs, aliens, time travel, alternate universes, and parallel dimensions? Want to explore paranormal activities, ghost hauntings, various cryptoids, such as Bigfoot, sea and lake monsters? Greetings, Beyonders. I'm author Casper Parks, and you are listening to Beyond the Strange with host Dave Cruz. Help spread the word by posting links in forums and social media. Available at Speaker.com, YouTube, and Google Hangouts.
Hey, this is Deb, and you're listening to Dave Cruz on Beyond the Strange Radio.
I warn you, this could scare you, as the sound bothers me to listen to. It has always haunted me. What you're about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
I've seen the Martians eat.
What in heaven's name is it?
I don't know. Beyond the Strange.
Have you ever looked skyward and pondered UFOs, aliens, time travel, alternate universes, and parallel dimensions? Want to explore paranormal activities, ghost hauntings, various cryptoids, such as Bigfoot, sea and lake monsters? Greetings, Beyonders. I'm author Casper Parks, and you are listening to Beyond the Strange with host Dave Cruz. Help spread the word by posting links in forums and social media. Available at Speaker.com, YouTube, and Google Hangouts.
All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. Thank you all for being here tonight. This has been a great evening. Awesome evening with psychic medium Chris Medina, also the host of the podcast In Your Head. And I just put the phone number out there for the phones. It is 1-720-707-2699, and use the meeting ID 658-993-592, so you can get into the room and you can join me and Chris. And once again, thank you again, Chris Medina, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
It's been great, man, and I'm really glad that we got to do this tonight. And of all days, St. Patrick's Day. I don't know any leprechaun stories, so
Right?
I don't. I know a few good green beer stories though.
Oh yeah, me too, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely goes way back in the day. But that's amazing. How are you about? Do you ever try to interpret dreams or anything like that? Does that? I had a good show just the other day about dreams, but the group that I was talking to, they don't necessarily interpret dreams, but they talk about the dreams. And I think part of the reason for that is they don't want to interpret a dream and then just make it generic for everyone else, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah. Whenever somebody talks to me about a dream and I'm doing a reading, it definitely resonates a little bit better than than going there and try to do it, like you said, generically there. But yeah, I do interpret dreams. Jay is a very vivid dreamer. my
Mhm.
business partner, my friend, and I'm always dissecting his dreams and telling him, this is the meaning of it here. It goes along with the psychic stuff that I've been telling you here, as far as like being able to let go. There's always issues like in the dream in dreams that he has about like fighting people, or having to go having people go against the grain there. And again, I'm not saying that he thinks most people are stupid, but he doesn't understand the world that we live in, where people can be nothing but followers here. And I said, that's what your dreams are telling you, is that, your mentality is very much, think outside the box. Do not be a sheeple there. But you're getting angry when you see people doing it. There's nothing you can do, a person being dumb or resistant to change, or that's
Sure.
not your problem. Don't take on that energy so hard there. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yeah, I can interpret dreams, but I don't want to come across generic when I do it though.
Yeah, and I understand that. I do know that, and I was speaking to them about this. That some of the dreams that I had, there's sometimes there's a reoccurring one once in a while, and I take it as an omen. As a matter of fact, it seems that um, it's more in the Latino Spanish community, where
Mhm.
if a person dreams about their teeth falling out, that usually means that something bad's going to happen. I don't know if you've ever heard that before or not.
I knew, God, it's going to sound so cliche to say I knew you were going to bring that up. Actually, yes, whenever somebody talks to me about their teeth falling out, they always say it's a bad omen. Because I am half Mexican, I used to believe that folklore, but to me, I interpret this with somebody else, and it usually represents a person not wanting to give up control. And when your teeth fall out in the dream, because you have no control over what's going on in the dream, you're seeing your teeth fall out there. That's a sign that you're holding on to something that needs to be let go of here. And and when you have that dream there and not be able to do anything about it, is exactly what you need to do, is stop trying to intervene and jump in and trying to have too much control over things. That's how I interpret some of the dreams. Like, when people say their teeth are falling out, and somebody like you, that's
Mhm.
very, I'm not saying that you're resistant to change or that you're stubborn there, but to me, you always want to have, not necessarily control, but always want to make sure that, you have everything going on here. And sometimes things are just out of your control that you are not going to be able to stop and or handle. So for you, like if I was interpreting this for you, I would say kind of ease off the gas a little bit here and don't go so far down the hill. Allow yourself the opportunity for some air to come in there, and to kind of switch things up here, because I feel like the way that you go about doing things, again, I'm not saying it's one-sided, but you very much can do a lot of things at all at one time here, but it's taking a step back and trying to try to figure out what is worth juggling and what's worth just letting go of now. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's hard to let go.
Yeah.
It really is. You know,
Oh
um,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
especially when you can be a controlling person like me sometimes. But
Well,
I try not to be.
here's the thing. Yeah, I'm a Taurus. I am stubborn by nature. Like I am resistant to change. If you were to be with me on a daily basis, you would see that I go about doing things the same way almost every day, from getting up to drinking coffee in the morning to the way I go to bed at night. It's very much almost the same thing. My guides, when before we moved back to LA, when we were living in Oregon, Jay and I, because we were living out there together with my kids and doing my business out there, my guides had told me, okay, now it's time for you to move back to LA, and they had warned me. They had said it's going to be different when you go back. There's going to be a lot of change. And so when we were looking for a place to rent when we got back here, I ended up renting out from a friend. It didn't work out so well between me and her. But when I asked my guys, I said, okay, is this a good sign here? Should I
Mhm.
take this? Is this where we should move to when we come back? And there was a roach that crossed my path
Hmm.
right when I said that. And Jay was standing there, and I told Jay, and I was like, I go, okay, well, this means a yes, but this means going down to the bare essentials. This means being stripped of everything that we have here and living by just what we need here. That could have never been any more truer, because when we got back here, so many things changed. I lost a lot of relationships. I was forced to let go of a lot of things. Like my comfort, things that I used on a daily basis, that I surrounded myself with, that I thought made me. My guides took all that away. I mean, when I tell you that I've been stripped down to the bare essentials, and I am stripped so bare and so raw that, I
Mm,
mean, people would look at me now and they're like, "You're not the same person," and I'm not. I was forced to do this. So whenever my guides tell me change is coming in here, I've just learned to ride that wave and not to resist it. You know what I'm saying?
right.
If you just let go here, what's the worst that can happen? Because at the end of the day, Dave, you have amazing self-control, and you would never ever put yourself in a position that would make you lose or make you look stupid here. It's just not in the cards for you. But what the message your guys are trying to give you here is loosen up the reins here. Have some air, like your wife. Aquarius is an air sign. Have her come in here and use some of that Aquarian energy to think outside the box or kind of restructure things around a little bit. So what if it doesn't make sense right off the bat? Change is good for everybody. Does that make sense? I hope it doesn't sound too hokey.
No, 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 not at all. Not at all. And again, we
Yeah.
I mean, I think, well, first of all, my wife is my best friend, plain and simple. She really is. And, we definitely have our ups and downs, but the best thing about it is we always take something from any conversation we have. It's like, whether it's good, whether it's bad, we learn something from it. We definitely, and we try to make the best of whatever comes out of it. But yeah, she's great, for me to bounce things off of, and vice versa. Even though, we may not always share the same thought, or the same perspective, but the good thing is that we do learn from each other, and it usually does work out, and like you said, thinking outside the box. She's a lot better than I am when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I was gonna say is, hold on a second. Michael Jordan, you're in the chat room. Thanks for joining us. It says I'm using my phone to listen to you. I don't know if you're using it to listen to the show. I don't know how you're doing that. That's very interesting. Oh, I see. You're using your phone. Okay. All right. Well, if you want to call in, the phone number is there. Just just go ahead and click off of YouTube and use the phone to call in. The number is 1-720-707-2699. And when the person prompts you to put in the number, the ID meeting is 658-993-592. I put it in there a few times in the chat room. So please, like I said, if you want to call in, you got a question for Chris, please call in and say hi. Whatever you want to do, go for it. It's all good. So, there's the number out there. But yeah, I do feel that, Deb is my best friend, and I'm so glad that we can do that. And we have that dynamic with each other. But getting back to dreams, and then we can definitely get into Bill Cooper. I wanted to tell you about this too. I totally forgot about this, but I've been meaning to share this, out in on the show. I've tried to share it a few times, but for some reason it never finished up on it. I had a dream, and it was 3 dreams and 1 dream. You ever see the movie Inception?
No, not all the way through.
So there's these guys, when they dream in layers. They'll dream, and then they in the dream they go into another dream, and into that dream they go into another dream, right? And and so on and so on. I literally had a dream where I woke up and I was still dreaming, but I didn't know it until later on. I woke up again and I was still dreaming. I didn't know it, and then I woke up, and then finally, I woke up. I woke up from that dream. So the first layer of my dream, I woke up. I woke up out of my bed, and the TV was on, and for some reason I was bleeding around from my belly, like someone had stabbed me or something. And I look down and I see this blood, and I'm like, whoa, this is this is not cool, I'm thinking it's real. So I call out to my sister, and I told my sister, hey, I need a ride to the ER. I'm bleeding here. And so she's like, oh yeah, sure. And for some reason she's taking her time. She goes, there's a big old, like, it's like a big store parking lot outside my house. And so she goes all the way across the parking lot to get her car. And I'm bleeding out, and I'm like, what the heck? And so she finally comes, around, and I get in the car, and we're on our way to the ER, and I pass out during the trip. And then the next thing you know, I'm waking up again. And I woke up in my bed again. This time there's no blood. I woke up because I heard my phone. I answered my phone. It was my cousin. We start talking, and it was weird because at the time I was like thinking to myself, I'm talking to my cousin, but there's something not right about this. I'm still looking for the blood. I don't see any. So I'm like, okay, so it's cool. I get up, no blood still. I go out to the room. My sister's there, and my dad is there. My dad's he passed away at December 2005. And so to see him there, it was like, I didn't put the two together. I was dreaming. I just thought my dad was there. And my dad's like, what's going on with you? And I'm like, what do you mean, Dad? And he's like, you're bleeding. And then I look down, and I'm bleeding again from my belly. And I'm like, what is going on? This is really bizarre. And so again, I asked my sister, hey, you need to take me to the ER. So she gets her car. We get in the ER, or we start going towards the ER. I pass out again, but this time I woke up in a car. I woke up in a car, and I'm on the other side of the neighborhood of town, and I get a phone call. No, I didn't get a phone call. I was the cops were talking to me, and they're like, what happened to your car? And it had crashed into another vehicle. And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't even know how I got here. And it's all real to me. It's very real. And I thought, okay, I'm finally awake, but I'm still dreaming. And so the phone, there was, it wasn't my phone. I didn't have my phone. I couldn't find my phone. Matter of fact, I think I left it at home. And so I see a flip phone on the seat of the car that I was in. And I called my phone, and Deb answered, and Deb's like, where are you? And I'm like, I don't have any clue. I think I was in an accident. I'm okay though. No bleeding this time. And I told her, I said, yeah, I'm trying to tell the police. I have no idea where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. It's not my car, yada, yada. Then all of a sudden I look up in the sky, and there are a bunch of lights passing by, and then all these jet fighters start chasing them, and it's like a war in the sky, that we were being invaded. It was like an alien invasion. And I'm like, this is crazy. And Deb was on the other line. She's like, yeah, that's not the half of it. She's like, where are you at? I'm going to go pick you up right now. So I guess I knew where I was at. I told her, I said, I'm here. She's like, all right, I'll be right there. So I get off the phone. I start walking. I get out of the car, I start walking, and I'm on like this hill where I can see down, the whole town. I can see all the lights, the lights of the town and everything. It was dark. And I'm looking up in the sky, and there's all these weird anomalies in the sky. And then there's fighting and spaceships and jet fighters. I'm like, what is going on? And this guy was there. I don't even know who he was. And I turned to him. I said, hey, man, I'm like, is this really happening, or am I tripping? And he's like, no, this is as real as it gets. And after that, I looked up, I turned my head, and that's when I woke up.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
That's, yeah. A lot of times when people dream like that, well, we'll use you as an example since it was your dream here. there's a feeling of not being heard or not wanting to say things out loud in your everyday life. So the subconscious comes into play, and it really unloads there. So a lot of the things that you're suppressing on a daily basis, or you're thinking about here, or you're not necessarily putting out there in the world, will come into a dream like that and really be all over the place. So how often do you let go mentally? Like, do you meditate a lot, or how do you decompress?
You know, I usually just try to veg and watch TV. That's usually how I decompress and relax. Sometimes I'll go to the gym. Most of the time it's just, kicking it with Deb. But there is a practice that a friend of mine had told me about, and it's called Falun Dafa, Falun Gong. It's kind of like Tai Chi, and you do a lot of these different movements, and you're summoning your chi energy, and I've learned the exercises, and I started getting them down, but then I stopped doing them, and I noticed that when I did do them, I felt so much better and relaxed, even healthy. And just the other day, as a matter of fact, because I was so much under the weather, I thought something bad was going to happen to me, because I had to go to work. I actually did a couple of exercises before I left, and instantly I felt like recharged. I felt so much better. So,
do you? I know this is going to sound like a. Well, I'm just going to put it out there. Do you smoke pot?
I used to. I've actually I've actually been clean from drinking and smoking pot for, well, I want to say this November.
I had a cousin. He's still alive. That was very similar energy to yours, and very much wanted to be in control all the time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it here, but when you have a lot of that energy built up on a daily basis here, and you find it hard to unload, or you don't think anybody's going to understand how you're feeling or tap into, you only do a disservice to yourself there. That's when a stress creeps on. That's when you start having these weird dreams here. So again, for somebody like you, it's not I'm not saying, I would never tell you, Dave, give up 100 here, learn how to chill out here, but at the same time, I'm going to tell you to check in with yourself. Maybe do stuff that alleviates your mind a little bit, or maybe go. I know we talked about, like, you're working a lot, don't really have the time to do it, but anything that you can do to decompress or unwind your mental, because the subconscious is playing out a lot in your dreams, because you're not honoring and I know it sounds hokey, maybe a little too woo-woo, but you're not honoring your higher self in your everyday life. You've got too much of the material world infiltrating your mind. Therefore, you're having these thoughts or dreams play out subconsciously.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Like, that's why I used to smoke tons of pot. I've been clean since the first of the year, because I made that promise to my guides. I was like, I'm gonna get on a better diet. I'm gonna start working out more. I'll stop smoking weed up until my birthday, which is April 25th, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to smoke it around that time there. But I usually do smoke pot to unwind and decompress, because I'm doing readings all day long. I got this podcast that I'm working on. It really is a 5-day-a-week type of job when you're doing a podcast and you're doing all that stuff, that you really don't have time to check in with yourself. So smoking weed allowed me to decompress, relax, and just kind of be on a different level there. It was very distracting and numbing to me, but at the same time, since I was smoking so much of it, I wasn't getting the full effect of it. So I'll go clean every now and then for a few months and then get right back on it. But yeah, anything that you can do to unwind or decompress your higher mind, to get more in touch with it, I would recommend that for you.
Sorry, I had to hit the cough button. I promise I'm not smoking right now. I'm not smoking, I swear. I don't have the
maybe that's a sign you should.
I know, right? Maybe I should. No, I'm just from the icky, trying to get over this, whatever this cold is or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I heard from, I learned from a person that was doing this practice, as a matter of fact, with the chi energy thing, that when the person drinks, and she mentioned to me, don't drink, and because it opens up a gateway to spirits. And guess what? That's what they used to call alcohol back in the day, spirits. So
Right.
it's definitely an entryway for spirits to enter that you don't really want to enter. Hey, we got a caller. Let's go ahead and go to the phone lines. Hello, caller.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, is this Amy?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Amy, how you doing? You're on with Chris Medina.
I'm doing badly. Yeah. I'd like to speak to your guest because I think we have something similar. You speak very rapidly. But I walk very rapidly, and I'm not. I'm kind of making a joke of it. You are a very fast talker, but I'm a very fast walker. In fact, someone commented to me at Walmart just the other day, "Why are you walking so fast?" And I looked around. I don't really know because I'm really not in a hurry. Why? Why do you talk so fast and I walk so fast?
That's very interesting.
Why are we in a hurry? Yeah.
I think that because I get asked this question all the time. Why do you talk so fast? My mind thinks faster than my mouth wants to put out there. So I'm always trying to catch up on my thoughts and get it out there as quickly as I can before I lose the thought or before I don't know why. I just to me I don't know. It's like second nature. And I actually walk really fast too. And people ask me all the time, why are you walking so fast? What's the big hurry? I don't find myself doing it. I'm in a zone and I'm thinking and I'm just putting it out there. I mean, do you know why you walk fast? Do you ever stop and think about it on your own? It's just how we are. I think that I mean, I don't know if this is the same thing for you, but we're just in our own zone or on our own vibe. Does that make sense?
Well, I think I'm on some sort of timeline, and that maybe is not important. So I think, well, what is the difference that another minute might make? But I still continue to walk at such a brisk pace that it doesn't make sense. And so I can relate to you with your fast talking, and I was just wondering about it.
When's your birthday?
That's all. Oh gosh, I'm in trouble now. 12/7.
12/7, so that's a Sagittarius. What year were you born in, if you
Yeah,
don't mind me asking? What year was it? What year were you born?
62.
62. Let's just check this moon is in. December 7th, 62, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that is Sag Taurus. So that Taurus energy, I'm a Taurus. We are just we march to the beat of our own drum. We don't know why we do it. Again, I'm the same way. I have to get to where I'm going. It's just got places to go, people to see type of mentality. I don't even realize that I'm doing it. I'm just focused on where it is that I'm going here. And I do kind of resonate with that timeline a little bit here. I for whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, I would love to answer your question in a psychic type of way, but I just feel like it would be out of the norm if I slowed down, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Like,
it
I don't
makes
know how to slow
absolute sense.
down.
I'm telling you, about 5 years, I walked into a Walmart at my fast pace, and the clerk turned around and said, "What is your danged hurry, lady?" And I really wasn't in a hurry. That is just my normal pace. So I thank you
Interesting.
so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Amy, for calling in and asking your question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
All
Amy,
right.
thank you.
Yeah, I think we get on our own
You know,
frequency, right? And that's what happens.
Yeah, I remember moving to Oregon and over there everything is so slow paced. The people are slow paced, the lifestyle is
Hmm.
so slow paced. And moving from LA over there, I remember some guy pulled up along the side of me, and because this lady was the light had already turned green and she was still sitting there, so I honked my horn at her, not blaring, but he's like, "What's your hurry?" And I was like, the light is green. That means go. Let's go.
Right. Let's just go. We got another caller, 540. Thank you for calling in. You're on with Chris, Medina, and Dave.
Yeah, Dave, it's Michael. Jordan, how are you doing?
Hey, Michael. It's great to hear you, man. How you doing?
Real good. I got a question for Chris. It's kind of a little bit of a long question. I'll make it really quick. I was in Phoenix. I used to do psychic readings, Reiki, and yoga research. I was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm on the East Coast now. And I was at a bookstore, and I was doing readings there, and a woman comes in that owned it, asked me to go up to the register, and look for register for a little while because whoever did it either didn't show up or something was going on. So about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm sitting there. And the other come in. The woman, there's a chair behind me where you could go sit down and read a book, just for relaxation if you want to sit. He comes in, and she goes behind me and sits down in the chair. He comes around to the front of me. Now, the countertop of the test reader is L-shaped, so I'm sitting at the bottom of the L in the corner, facing that way towards the wall. He comes over and starts talking to me about UFO stuff and everything. It's some reason I got a little irritated by it. I don't know why. Suddenly, the back of my head started to burn for buzz, and I felt violated. So I turned around to her instantly and looked at her, and just kind of looked back, And all of a sudden, I could tell that I was getting physically. I could move less and less and less. And I was talking more monotone.
Michael,
so
Michael, can you? I don't know what's going on with your phone, but it keeps like going in and out. Are you going back and forth with it?
What do you mean?
It just, I don't know, Chris. Do you hear it? It kind of goes in and out a little bit.
Yeah, your phone keeps cutting out.
Is there maybe one way? Just okay.
Let me get outside. Is this better?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, should I start over?
Oh, no, I don't think so. You got the gist of it, Chris, right?
Yeah, go ahead. You're talking about the back of your head started burning. You turned over to the lady and then go from there?
Yeah, okay. And the first time I looked at her and looked back, and the back of the head starts to burn again. So he started asking me about how you feel about the Greys and the Palladians and all the different ones. And I just, simply told him I hadn't ever met any of them, so I don't know. I don't know them. But he kept asking me questions like that, and the back of my head started burning even more energy. So I turned around to her and I said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "Well, she said she was from Scottsdale, and he had just given her a book on the Palladians. She hadn't read it yet, and I just, like, okay, you give me an answer." So I turned around again, and again, and at that point, I couldn't stop talking. So he asked me some other questions. And started telling them that there was like a base, underground base up in Sedona, certain area to go to, like 26 miles northwest of it or something like that. So anyways, the conversation was like that. And I got really pissed off, and I just turned around at her and looked at her. Now, the entire time, this woman's smoking a cigarette. No smoke in the room whatsoever, but she's smoking a cigarette. Turned around and looked at her, and I just, it's like, like knocked it off. So I couldn't say anything to her. So I started slowly turning around. She made sure the third time around that her eyes caught my eyes out of the corner, and her eyes were black.
Ooh.
And then I turned around and was, yeah. And then I turned around and I said, "Who are you?" Like, who are you people? So he gave me his name and address. He lived up in Montezuma, Arizona. And I never, I never took up on the address. What I want to know is, first off, why were they there? Secondly, what was she doing to the back of my head? And did she leave anything?
Interesting.
Here's the thing, and and you're not. I'm so glad that you brought up the burning sensation in the back of your head. I don't get a burning sensation. I remember I've told this story before. I lived with a kid that I thought was very, and you're going to think it's crazy, but that I thought was very alien. There was something different about his frequency and his vibe. And every time my head was near his, I don't know if you ever talk on a cell phone with the phone right next to your ear, but I can't do it. There's something about the radiation from the phone. Nobody believes me when I say this. That really messes with the frequency in my head, and I get a really, really bad headache. This kid had that same effect on me, where every time I got close to him, I got a really, really bad headache. but it didn't burn. It was just like an interference or like a pinging type of sensation on there. I don't. Dave and I were just talking about this at the beginning of the show here, or I think it was, I don't know if it was on our own, Dave, about different energies and different people that are synthetics or that are different beings here. I was telling Dave, I really feel like those types of people walk among us, and for those of us that are sensitive, that are intuitive, psychic, or empathic, really pick up on a different type of frequency there. So that's what I feel like you were picking up on. And then you said that you did some medium and psychic work there, and being able to see things that most people don't there, you got a glimpse at for who that person was. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out, why did they come there and do that to my head? I mean, I don't, that part is like
the same reason why they come and visit me, and they want to make sure that I could hear what they're saying. They're just probably intrigued with the ability that you have, or the sensitivity that you carry as a person there. There is, I mean, I really wish that I had a reason, because that's what I want to know, why they come and visit me. They never harm me. They just are intrigued by me. I wish I had the answer to your question. It's just, again, you're on a different frequency or a different vibe that they picked up on.
Well, one other thing, I moved up to a small town in Arizona, and it was one of those last second, let's move. And there's some friends of mine up there, so I just took off one Sunday afternoon, moved out of my apartment and left, didn't tell anybody. And when I was up there about 3 weeks into it, I saw like a formation of half almond-shaped things flying through the air, but in the formation. And 4 days later, I was sitting out on the front porch, or my front porch, and the back of my head started to burn. As soon as it did, I got really angry. I just started yelling. I always got angry when it happened. But what I did was I climbed up on the roof and looked the opposite way, and there's a ship up in the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they did. I mean, again, you always hear about them implanting things into people and doing weird things. Maybe, again, it could be just your sensitivity to that type of frequency. Like I said with that kid, it was just like some sort of bad headache that I got every time I was around him. It didn't make me irritated. It just was a horrible headache. I wish I had the answer for you, but again, you're just probably a little bit more sensitive to the energy and those types of beings than most people are, and it jams you up, or it creates you, or it causes you to get in that bad mood.
Yeah.
Oh, I got angry. I got so angry.
Yeah, and there's different intelligences out there. I've tried researching, and I've been wanting to do a whole show on the topic and subject of the black goo, and how that itself is a extraterrestrial intelligence. And it's very possible, Michael, that these beings, they seem human, but they're not. And yes, Chris, we were talking about that before the show, how there are reptilians and different species of aliens who are on this planet who seem human, but they're really not. And there's also now something that's called human. Hold on, let me see if I can get this. Organic robotoid. That it's very possible that these are like android type beings with an intelligence all its own. But yeah, Michael, that's really interesting, and yeah, thanks for calling in. I greatly appreciate your call.
All right, thanks a lot.
You bet, man. We'll talk later.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, see, those types of energies affect people so differently, though.
All right, thanks a lot. You bet, man.
It does. Hey, 615, you're on with Dave and Chris. Can you please turn your speaker down a little bit?
I think I'm okay.
Okay, is this Amy again?
Yes, Amy again.
Hey, Amy, how you doing?
All right.
Are you walking fast again, or what?
I got to turn the speaker down. Hold on. I think I'm messing up here. Oh, crap. Let me turn everything down here. I can hear myself, which is horrifying. All right. Turned it all off. What I want to talk about is the head pounding. Does he know what I'm talking about?
The head pounding.
Head pounding, which I have had since a teenager. And just, I didn't know that for many years it was a precursor for an astral projection. And it wasn't until Art Bell and someone came on and explained that. But do you know what I'm talking about? The head pounding?
The head pounding. Chris, do you have an
Yes.
idea of the head pounding?
No, can you explain it a little bit more to me? How it affects you, or what, or just give me a little bit more detail?
Sure. As a young, first time, probably 10 years old, it was a small thing in my head. It was just starts pounding like at the side of my head, just a, like a drum at the side of my head, and it would just keep getting louder and louder and louder until I would have to shake myself out of it. And I would explain it to my parents, and they would say, well, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. And this went on through my teenage years. In fact, when I met my husband, this same one the whole book was about, I did this head pounding thing. And it didn't happen every day, but it was a slow thing. It was like a romance to my head. It would just keep getting louder and louder. But I listened to Art Bell, and it said that that's a precursor to an astral projection. And I bought a book from a guest who was on Art Bell. It was a precursor to an astral projection. It was like it's like an invitation.
And
Have you ever?
do you astral project after the pounding?
Oh, heck yeah. Because I bought the book, The Soul Traveler, from a guest who was on Art Bell, because I had no idea what this was. It was like an invitation. It was paralyzing, and it got painful. I had to shake myself out of it, but I had no idea what it was until I was in my 30s. Have you ever heard of something like that?
No, but you know what? I have something similar happen to me. I hear tones, like different tones throughout the day. Like my hearing will go in and out, and I'll pick up on higher frequencies or higher sound waves. That's the only way that I can describe it. And then I'll have some sort of an encounter at night before, like in a dream state there. So, and it is pretty much astral projecting. I wonder if it's almost the same thing there, but I don't get a headache. I don't get a headache though. I do get a headache the next day after I astral project because it takes a lot of mental stuff out of me there. So I think I just associated that with being drained afterward. But yeah,
I
before I
can see
astral
that.
project, I hear tones. Yeah,
Yeah, I was always very curious
interesting.
about it. And there's no one to talk to about it. This went on for years and years. I'd asked my parents about it, and I just have this pounding in my head. I don't know what it is, and I learned to shake myself out of it because it. And one time I just said, I'm just going to ride it out. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to sit here.
Yeah.
It's going to get louder and louder and louder, and I'm just going to sit here and take it. But no, I had to shake myself out of it. And it wasn't until a book on Art Bell's program that showed me how to take that head pounding and know what to do with it. Now, don't get me wrong, I haven't had any great things that became of it. I had a little fun, but I don't know anything about the weather or world consequences or anything. But thank you so much. Yeah.
You're
darn.
welcome. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah, thanks again for calling in, Amy.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. It's interesting. A lot of different things lead up to these kind of, I would say, experiences, like the head poundings or, hearing different sounds of frequencies. I think it's communication. I really believe whether it's a ghost, a spirit, an entity, extraterrestrial, interdimensional, whatever you want to call them, that these people or beings are trying to reach. They're trying to cross over, and they're trying to reach to us, and they're trying to communicate for some reason, or maybe even to warn us. And speaking of warnings, I did mention before the show that I wanted to get into a little bit of possibly predictions. Now, I don't know if you do that or not, Chris, but I was wondering, what does this year have in store for most of us? And do we need to worry? Because I'm seeing a lot of crazy stuff happening in the weather patterns. I don't know if it's, and I don't want to, put my tinfoil hat on too quickly, but it could,
they're definitely, yeah, they're definitely manipulating the weather for
right,
sure.
right.
There's, and also too, when it comes to predictions here, I did a show. I said this before, where I kind of got bullied, or not bullied, but I had somebody reach out to me and threaten to shut me down, or
Mhm.
and make kind of put me on blast there. So I'm real careful when it comes to that. But
Sure.
watch for these new diseases that are coming into play. William Cooper, when he came to visit, he showed me a lot of different things, and a lot of man-made things that they're throwing out there in the public there, to get people sick, into especially with these, there's a lot of people that are turning vegan, that are turning all organic and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you definitely want to eat healthier and eat cleaner here, but what a great way to wipe a lot of people out, by contaminating the food like that.
I'm seeing it. I've been seeing it over the last year. A lot of our um vegetables, like lettuce and I think it was, oh my gosh, what was it? I wanted to say it was broccoli, but I can't remember. But yeah, it was a lot of our food is being contaminated. I feel like it's definitely being, it's a sort of a terrorist attack, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just worried. I'm more worried about, like, I'll give you one premonition here. I remember dreaming about what the world, and when William Cooper was coming in, he was showing me what was going to take place here. And again, I'm not into politics here, but about Russia and China teaming up and kind of doing something with the U.S. here, that the U.S. was going to think that there was something good going on there, when they were in fact going to turn their back and actually collaborate, or kind of team up to do something here. So I would watch out for that. All the powers that be, like this Donald Trump, a lot of people give him a lot of shit, and whatever, whoever the president is, Obama, but they fail to realize that he's not the person that's calling the shots.
Right. Exactly.
He's just the face of everything. So a lot of people that that they're saying, that are against him or that are for him here, he's not really doing the speaking. He doesn't really have the authority to make these major changes here. It's the powers that be that you should be afraid of here. So again, I'm a little bit more concerned for, like, these different diseases that are going to be put out there. There's also going to be some issues with, like, with you'll see, and I've seen this come into I've seen this in visions of mine here. Watch for these cell phones. Watch
Mm.
for these devices that could blow up at any time. In Apple's really good at sealing their stuff, but people can definitely go into it and open these things up here. But they are going to come with things that have little surprises in them. So watch out for that.
Interesting. I like the way you say that, you phrase that as surprises, because we don't know what they are. And yeah, thanks Dino for putting that out in the chat. We do have 5G coming. I believe it's here already. I think that's another reason why a lot of us are feeling like shit, is because the frequencies that 5G is putting out right now. I still think it's in the test phase, but it's I hear scary stories about how we're all going to get fried because of the 5G, and I wouldn't doubt it. But I mean, we're not doing ourselves
Well, there
any favors by keeping our phones by our on our nightstand when we go to sleep either.
I always, believe it or not, I have a lot of people that reach out that are, I don't want to put anybody on blast, but that are of higher status, that work in the government, that have actually warned me about issues like this here.
Mhm.
I always power down my phone at night. I never have it on, and I put it underneath something at all times there, because again, I don't like anything messing with me. But just look at the way the world is going now. These kids that are being born now, everything is so, I just talked about this on my podcast. Everything's so accessible to them. What they're doing is they're creating emotionless people. You're utilizing artificial intelligence to do the thinking and the feeling for you. So a lot of the kids that are being born now are being born with a lack of emotion. I mean, I don't want to sound too far out there or too weird, but look at the way they're shaping up to be mindless, pretty much. There is no uniqueness anymore. Everybody's kind of uniform and cut from the same, from the same cloth, or spit out from the same machine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's very bizarre what's happening right now, and I hate to say it, but you know, it definitely looks like well, I'm not going to say it because that's the other thing too, Chris. I believe, I really feel that the mainstream media, Hollywood, entertainment business, whatever, it's all part of this cabal. And I really feel that when they're putting out negative energy, especially in apocalyptic movies, movies about, you know, satanic, with satanic themes, that kind of thing, it all leads up for us to have this on our mind constantly, to the point where we're always thinking about it. And it creates sort of like, you know, what Clyde Lewis always says on his show Ground Zero, a tulpa, and that it can actually manifest these things. And so we got to be careful about what we watch on TV. We got to be careful about, you know, what we, you know, are, you know, constantly thinking on our minds is this the year of, you know, the apocalypse, or are we all gonna, you know, is this it? Because we can accidentally manifest this thing, and I'm really hoping that that's not the case.
Yeah. Well, I sometimes I think, you know, whether or not, I mean, I just to add something really quick to it, wondering if zombies are really zombies and they're just not brainless people, you know, just like the sheep will follow one right after the other without any real thought process of their own. And they're just the way the media is putting it out there. If they look like flesh eating zombies or things that are like that are undead here, it very much is the reality of what we're going to be walking ourselves into. People that can't think for themselves anymore, people that are conditioned to think in a certain way because that's the way they've been programmed to think.
Yeah, I can see the symbolism in that, and you know, using that as a metaphor for, I mean, look at people right now. They're looking at their phones, they're walking, running into fountains, you know, tripping into water, that kind of thing. You know, they're not thinking. Yeah. They're really not paying attention, and they're not paying attention. Period. Especially with what they put on the media right now. It's just it's insane. What, you know, it's like the Trump show, 24 hours on the news. You know, but and behind the scenes, there's other things that are happening, and you know, it's just really bad. So I just hope for positive vibes for everyone. You know, think positive, do your best to, you know, tell that person that you love how you feel. Make sure you hug them and kiss them at night, and just think good. Just think of good stuff, and that's what I want to try to do, and I hope everyone does too. Chris, let's find out, where are you gonna be? Do you have any appearances? Do you have anything happening on your podcast? Where can we find you? Please put out your information.
Yeah, for sure. Anybody that's looking for a reading, you know, hit me up. Let's get a half an hour in. Please feel free to visit my website. It's chrismedina.guide. Sign up for a reading, whether it's a half an hour in. You can find me there to set up an appointment. Feel free to follow me on social media, which is at Psychic Chris M. That's for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Psychic Chris M. Tune into my podcast, which is on Apple, Audio Boom, Stitcher, Spotify. It is In Your Head with Chris Medina. That's the title of my podcast. And as far as appearances, I am all over the place doing readings. I have a big event that I'm going to be announcing shortly on my podcast coming up this summer, so look out for that. But yeah, I'm just moving and grooving, trying to evolve souls and change lives, and, you know, try to make the world a better place.
Awesome, man. And you're doing a great service, and I thank you for everything that you've done for me and our listeners and everyone out there. And I just want to say thank you again for being on the show today. And Chris Medina, everyone, please come back to the show soon.
Definitely. Thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate it, Dave.
Right on, Chris. Don't go away. I'm just going to wrap up the show right now. Beyond the Strange is owned and copyrighted by Dave Cruz and cannot be simulcast, rebroadcasted, or copied without written consent of Beyond the Strange. Also, the views and opinions are not necessarily that of Beyond the Strange, host, guests, and affiliated networks. Listeners are always encouraged to conduct research and formulate their own opinions. Executive producer and creator of Beyond the Strange is Dave Cruz. Co-executive producer is Deb J. Cruz. Disclaimer and work voice by Casper Parks. Visit CasperParks.com. Music is by Alan Hall and Zebrafish. Visit SoundCloud.com/Zebrafish. And thanks to everyone reposting on Twitter, Facebook. Tell your friends about Beyond the Strange. And with that, I just want to say thank you for being here, and be good to each other. Stay strange. See y'all later. Hasta. Have a good night.